This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Dream Power Show. I'm your host, certified dream life coach, Debbie Spector-Weissman. This is the show where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to create a life you love. And as always, I am here to help you understand your dreams. So if you've got a dream that's got you stumped, send it to me at debbie@dreampowerradio.com. I can help you interpret your dream or answer any general questions you might have about dreams. So again, email me at debbie@dreampowerradio.com. You know, there's one category of dreams that I get asked about more than any other: nightmares. And truthfully, I'm not surprised. I don't know anyone who hasn't been woken up at least once in the middle of the night by a scary dream, or been so terrified by a bizarre or really weird dream that's kept them up all night. Nightmares are so common and yet also misunderstood by nearly everyone. So to help us understand the mysteries of these night dreams, I'm happy to welcome my guest today, internationally recognized dream expert, Clare Johnson. Clare is the current president of the International Association for the Study of Dreams, has a PhD in lucid dreaming, and is the author of several books, including Mindful Dreaming and Llewellyn's complete book of lucid dreaming. Welcome to the Dream Power Show, Clare.
Hi, Debbie. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Clare, let's just start at the beginning. So what is your definition of a nightmare and what causes them?
Well, I mean, the way I define a nightmare is an upsetting or distressing dream. It's usually one that is so upsetting or distressing that it wakes us up, often with a shock or with a heavy feeling. So for me, nightmares are very important. They're fascinating. I see them as healing gifts. I see all dreams as coming to help and heal us. And nightmares, even though they can be really horrible and very distressing, they also carry gifts for us of creativity and healing. So that's something I've been fascinated with for my whole life. And I've been doing more research into nightmares, for the past 15, 20 years or so, and I never failed to be interested by the nightmares that people have, and the way that when you work with a nightmare to unpack its meaning, you can really gain so much from doing that in terms of self-understanding or healing from the past, or just working out where you are in your life and where you should be going on your life's path. So there's so many things that we can gain from when we work with nightmares.
I know that is so true. I mean, I've told people that nightmares can be the best gift that they've ever gotten. They look at me like I'm crazy, but it is so true that if you spend the time to figure it out, you can get a lot of healing from a nightmare. But to get back to it, is there anything that actually causes us to have nightmares?
Yeah. So, I mean, I believe that nightmares have a purpose. I think all dreams have this purpose of releasing emotions that are too strong, things that we haven't managed to deal with adequately during our daily life. Perhaps also things that we're suppressing without knowing about it. For me, a nightmare is like a red flag. It's saying, hey, there's something here that needs to be dealt with. You need to look at this. You need to give it your attention. You need to focus on it. Nightmares are extremely common, especially in children. I mean, I don't know what your dream life was like when you were a child. I remember having plenty of nightmares, and with my young daughter, we've been working together on her nightmares as well. It's a normal part of life to have nightmares. nights. The time when it becomes not so normal anymore is when we suffer from recurring traumatic nightmares. And this often happens after we've had some sort of trauma in our lives. And again, it's the mind's way of saying to us, this isn't resolved yet. There still needs to be work done on this. So the nightmare, even though it feels like the nightmare is attacking us on some level, we feel attacked, we feel upset by it, it's actually simply our dreaming mind pointing out to us that there's healing is needed, healing is needed in this area. So I think nightmares have that very important purpose of releasing things, emotions that are too strong for us to handle, and also helping us to integrate difficult experiences into our life, and work with our own memories of life, and try to understand why bad things happen to us. For example, we may have nightmares after someone we love dies, and that's all to do with the whole grief process of understanding that person is really gone. And there can be nightmares involved in that. Grief is a very complex emotion, and a very long and often difficult process. And nightmares do sometimes have their part in that process. But again, I do believe that they will show us the path towards healing if we know how to work with them.
Yeah, so even something like grief, you can use the nightmare to heal the emotions from that. What are there any other, would you call common types of nightmares?
Yeah, I mean, for example, I'll tell you that through my website, I get so many people contacting me about a particular kind of nightmare, and these are sleep paralysis nightmares. So sleep paralysis is when we feel that we're trapped in our bodies. It's a transitional state as we fall asleep. Everybody has a paralysis in their muscles every night to stop us from acting out our dreams, as that would be dangerous. But when we're consciously aware in this state, we can't move our bodies. We may feel trapped and upset, and often there are very difficult nightmare images that go with this if we don't know what's happening. Because when we panic in that state, because it's a thought-responsive environment, the dream imagery responds by, if we're terrified, it gets more terrifying, So it's very important to be able to relax and release fear in that state. So I get a lot of people writing to me, unfortunately, saying that they're scared to go to sleep because they know that the moment they go to sleep, they're going to go into sleep paralysis and have some awful nightmare of a demon coming into their room, or some terrible monster trying to attack them. And understandably, it's so frightening when you don't know what to do. But there are ways of working with sleep paralysis. As I said, the most important thing is to be able to relax and feel calm and peaceful in that state. And then that will help you to reduce this scary imagery. And you can also, you could wake yourself up if you needed to. You can wriggle your fingers and toes. You can hold your breath, because we still have control over our breathing, even in sleep paralysis. And if you hold your breath, that shocks the body into waking. Or you can understand that, okay, I'm conscious in this state. Crazy things are happening. It's not that great, but I'm going to do my relaxation techniques. I'm going to breathe and calm down. And then I'm going to visualize something very beautiful, like a beach with a hammock. And I'm just going to go into that scene, and that can take you directly into a lucid dream where you know that you're dreaming while you're dreaming. So sleep paralysis can actually be a gateway to a beautiful conscious dream, but only when we know how. So I often find that I'm responding to people and giving them tips of what to do when they have sleep paralysis nightmares.
Right. Well, I think it's
so that's one kind of nightmare.
Yeah, I was going to say that it is so important, because it's the not knowing that makes nightmares so scary. Because when you do understand that they're actually a message that you're getting, and you understand, you can at least find out and ask questions how to understand the question, or how to understand the what you're getting from the nightmare. But it is a way of healing and getting there and getting to a better understanding of yourself. So that's, so you said sleep paralysis. one way of doing it is to get yourself to relax. Is there, would that be like the general way to help you when you have nightmares, or are there other techniques you can use for other types of nightmares?
Yeah, I mean, there are many techniques of working with nightmares, and they can be astonishingly effective. What I really love about a lot of these techniques is that they don't take long. They may just take a couple of minutes, and yet they can result in insights, healing, and then sometimes in the case of recurring nightmares, they can even just dissolve those recurring nightmares, that they don't come back again, because the problem that the nightmare is flagging up has been acknowledged, it has been resolved, and the fear or the negative emotion, whatever it is, has been diffused or integrated, and that frees up the psyche. It doesn't need that recurring nightmare anymore. So I'll share with you, if you'd like, some ways of working with nightmares for healing and insight.
Yes, why don't we go through several of these that could help people when they do get nightmares, if they don't know what to do.
Exactly, that's the thing. So one thing you can do is you can re-enter the nightmare while you're awake. So this is a way of working with a nightmare. I'd like to say first, though, if you have a severely distressing nightmare, or if you're suffering from bereavement, or if you have any issues with depression, then I wouldn't recommend working with a really terrible nightmare all on your own. I think it's better to go and see a dream therapist and be able to have that safe space in which to work on a nightmare. But for other people who feel they want to work with a particular nightmare, a very effective technique is to lie down and relax, close your eyes, knowing that you're safe and knowing that you can open your eyes at any time and stop the process. And then just relax and bring your nightmare back into your mind's eye, and let it sort of happen again, scene by scene. And this time, when the scary thing happens in the nightmare, or the unpleasant thing, then just try sending it peace and love. So if you can just kind of think of something or somebody that you really love unconditionally. It might be your child, or it might be your dog, and bring a feeling of love into your heart and peace, and then send that out to this difficult part of your dream. This is incredibly powerful. It sounds very simple, and it is, but it can result in a very powerful transformation of the nightmare imagery. And what happens when we manage to transform negative imagery, negative dream imagery or nightmare imagery into something more positive, or something peaceful, or something happy, then it changes the course of the nightmare. It changes the energy of the nightmare. And this is the way that we speak to our unconscious, the language of dreaming. Those images to change spontaneously into something healing, then that can be just an incredibly powerful way of working with the dream. One technique that I've developed, this is basically the same kind of thing. It's called the Lucid Imaging Nightmare Solution. And I talk about this in my complete book of lucid dreaming. And this is when you re-enter a nightmare as soon as you've had it. Again, only if you feel okay about working with the nightmare on your own. And this nightmare, this time you imagine that you are lucid, so that you can change things, and you're safe. You can wake up when you want to, or stop the process. And this, once you're in this state of re-entering the nightmare, you could either send peace and love, as I just said, or you can ask the dream a question. Ask the monster that jumps out of the cupboard, who are you? Do you have a message for me? What do you want? And just ask in a curious way, just be really open for the answer, because you'll find that since you're in this very creative state of mind with all this mental imagery, you'll find that spontaneously answers will come, which will be surprising. It's not you making it all up. not that much point in doing that. The best thing is when you let the imagery respond to you. So you're going in there with your conscious awareness and your conscious focus, and you're enabling change. And you can also you can when you're becoming lucid in these situations. So okay, you're not actually lucid in a dream, but you're re-entering your dream with lucidity. You still feel scared in that situation or upset, then you can also create a protective egg of light around you. And this is something you can practice during the day. It's a bit like your rainbow, Debbie, that you've got around you at the moment. So you can kind of create like something protective around you. You can practice this during the day. That's very helpful. One thing you can do is to use gestures so that you can take your hands out in front of you like that and bring them up and around, and then just kind of make that space around you and fill it with protective white light. And this is really good if you're doing nightmare work, because nightmares, they can be so powerful. They can still scare us even if we are lucid or even if we are awake working with the nightmare imagery. So it's nice to have that element of protection.
Claire, I'm going to interrupt you now.
Yeah.
We have to take a little bit of a break here. We are talking with dream expert Clare Johnson about nightmares on the Dream Power Show, and we'll be right back.
When is a car not a car? When it shows up in your dreams. Cars are one of the most common dream symbols. If you don't know why you're dreaming about cars or any image, it can leave you confused or scared. But that dream could be a solution to a pressing problem, or an insight into a solution that's been bugging you for years. Go to my website and sign up for a complimentary discovery session, and I'll help you understand why a dream is a terrible thing to waste. Go to thedreamcoach.net for more information.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, and welcome back to the Dream Power Show. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach, and we're talking all about nightmares with dream expert Clare Johnson. Clare, before the break, you were talking about techniques to actually facing up to the scariness of whatever is affecting us in the nightmare. What other ways can we deal with those scary images in our nightmares?
Yeah, so there's a technique that I've developed called Lucid Writing, which is where you relax in the waking state, you relax, close your eyes, mentally re-enter the nightmare. And then, but this time you start to write without stopping. You write down everything that's kind of changing in the imagery, the whole stream of imagery. Just try and write it down without stopping, without thinking, without judging what you're writing. That's really important. Just to keep that flow between your pen and your unconscious mind. And this technique, I actually started teaching it as a creativity technique when I was doing my PhD on lucid dreaming as a creative tool. But very quickly, as soon as I started teaching it in workshops, I realized it was actually a healing tool as well, because people were just using it for nightmares, and they would have these insights into the nightmare, which helped them to understand that's what the dream is about. Because so often, if we're not used to working with dreams, or even if we are, sometimes a dream seems completely opaque. You think, why would I dream that? Makes no sense. It was really scary. Why would I have this nightmare? I mean, I can't find any reason for it. And then when we work with the dream with lucid writing or other techniques, this can be very helpful. So for example, one woman came to my workshop, and she was very upset about a nightmare that she'd had, where she was in a tiny plane and she was flying through a really big electric storm, and the plane was going crazy and she knew she was going to crash and die. And there was this big plane near to her, and that scared her even more because she thought they might bump into her, and she felt completely alone, and it was just a horrible nightmare. So we did the lucid dreaming, the lucid writing technique. And she wrote from her nightmare, only 5 minutes, just 5 minutes we did the exercise within this group. And at the end, I always ask participants, would anyone like to share what happened in their process? And she started to tear up. She was very moved, and she said, "Oh, something incredible happened." And I said, "Oh, what happened?" And she said, "Well, it's what you said about like relive the nightmare without fear," because she was so fearful in that nightmare, you know. But if you're doing any work with a nightmare, you don't need to feel that fear anymore because you're safe, you know. And so she said, so I went through the whole thing again without fear. And she said, I realized so many things. She said, I realized that the big plane wasn't like there to push me out of the sky. That big plane, when I looked across, there was a friendly pilot in the plane. And then he guided her little plane down to land. And the moment she landed safely, the storm vanished and the sun came out. And she realized basically through that she'd been in a horrible situation of being bullied in her workplace, and she felt like a victim in all areas of her life. It was even starting to come into her relationships, her romantic relationships, and she was having a very, very tough time. But this dream helped her to realize that the fear, to an extent, that was in every part of her life was self-created to an extent, and also that friends and help were available. If only she could just look for them, they were right there. And so this for her was like a major realization and understanding of how she could change her life. So the nightmare was horrible, but she unpacked it, she worked with it, and then she had these realizations which actually impacted every area of her life.
Oh yeah,
so it was an important dream for her to have worked with.
Oh, yeah. And just another example of the power of dreams and the power they have to heal us when we actually pay attention to them and pay attention to what they're trying to tell us.
Exactly.
Right. One thing I'm curious, though, about is the recurring nightmare. What happens when a person keeps having the same nightmare over and over? How do they deal with it? And how can they, what can be done to alleviate the suffering that happens from these kinds of dreams?
Yeah, I mean, so this is another type of nightmare, right? It's often recurring nightmares are linked to post-traumatic stress disorder, in the sense that something has happened in a person's life, something very traumatic, something that they just have not healed from and haven't made any progress with. In a sense, they're still very blocked about it or very upset, but yet they don't want to kind of face it. So the recurring nightmare is just, it's this the red flag thing, you know, that I talked about earlier. It just keeps popping up. Hey, you still haven't dealt with this. This needs to be given some attention. And recurring nightmares can be awful because you feel like there's no respite. You know, I get people writing to me and saying, I'm scared to sleep, you know, because I keep having the same nightmare over and over again. And I said, well, the only thing that you can do in that situation is work with your nightmare in a safe space. It needs to happen because you need to understand, is that nightmare telling me, you know, what's it saying that I need to deal with, and how do I deal with it? And often, amazingly, the answer is within the nightmare is like the solution. To, you know, as with the woman that I just told you the story about, you know, that nightmare gave her the solution. Oh, I need to be less fearful and I need to ask for help. The solution was in the nightmare when she unpacked it. So this is the advice that I give to people who have recurring nightmares. And I say to them, you know, try to see that it's like a guiding light in a way. It feels like an attack, but it's actually a shining light on your life's path, and you'll see it that way once you've gone through the difficult work of unpacking the nightmare and facing those things that need to be faced. It's very hard sometimes for us to face things. I mean, life can be really difficult, and we've all been scarred by life to an extent. But it's like, I think part of our reason for being here is to work with these difficult things, because only then, when we've released them or acknowledged them, sometimes it's just a question of acknowledgement, then we can move on, and we learn more about ourselves, and we grow in empathy for ourselves and for others, and we can help others. I think we can help others more once we learn how to help ourselves. So it's not selfish to be helping yourself. And I have to say this to many people, because people they want to be, I want to help other people, and they're, I'm thinking about other people all the time, and they're not thinking about themselves, and then they get into a stuck state. And that is what it is. It's a stuck state when you have these repetitive nightmares. It's something in the psyche is stuck and it's going back to the same thing. It's like a broken record. But it's not selfish to take care of ourselves. And dream work is just a very wonderful, gentle, profound way of taking care of ourselves on a soul level. So I do try to encourage people to do this work. It's hard at first, but it has such lasting benefits.
Yeah, we've been focusing mostly on talking about nightmares in adults, but is there a difference between adult nightmares and nightmares in children?
Yeah, well, I think nightmares in children, well, they're a lot more common for a start, and they have much easier triggers. There are little triggers that can result in nightmares in children. Just looking at a scary picture in a book, things like that can result in an instant nightmare that night. I've had a very interesting time working with my daughter, especially when she was younger. She doesn't really get nightmares that much anymore. She's now 9 years old. But when she was really little, I remember she had nightmares about a dragon, a scary dragon, and she'd seen this in a picture book at her nursery school, and now she was convinced this dragon was going to get her, and it had sharp teeth. That was basically all she could tell me about it, because she was 2 1/4, so she had hardly any vocabulary. But I got the picture, And so I said to her, well, you know what? If ever you need help in your dreams, ask for it. You ask for me, or you ask for your dad, or you ask for one of your soft toys to come and help you. You will always have help in the dream if you need it. And the thing about kids is that, they will totally believe that. You tell them anything like that, they take it on board, and it's in their psyche. And so she would, when she had dreams again about something scary, help would always show up in her dreams. It was amazing, just having said that one thing. And I also said to her, maybe you'd like to be friends with the dragon. She didn't want to do that at all. She was like, no, Mum, sharp teeth. So are you crazy? But she did. I did teach her as well, this is your dream. And these are possible dream friends, or you can ask for help, or you can escape if you want to escape. There are lots of options. And I developed the Love in Nightmare Empowerment technique, so LOVE. L is for listen. The best thing we can ever do is listen to children when they talk about their dreams. Some people say to me, oh, I can't really do anything with my child's dreams. I don't know what they mean. I said, it doesn't matter. The most therapeutic thing ever is listening, giving a child the space to talk about their dream, because it's something very important for them. So even if you can't give them a solution or interpret the dream, which I don't think should be done really in that case anyway, it's just important to listen. And then the O in love is options. You give the child options, such as the one I've just explained. You can make friends with the dream dragon, you can go for a ride on its back, you can ask for help from mum and dad, things like that. You can get the child to draw a picture if they want to draw a picture, and they can draw help into their dream. This is actually a nice technique for adults as well. Most adults think it's too childish to try. But again, you're working with images, and you're creating art from your dream, and then you're bringing help and you're bringing solutions into that picture. It's superb. It works really well for the unconscious. And then the V is to verify the child's progress, to make sure, see how their dreams are. Keep asking them, did you have any more dreams, and how's it going? And you'll see the level of happiness growing in their dreams. And the E is for empowerment, and that is all about empowering these little dreamers so they don't feel completely on their own and helpless in their dreams. I mean, they're helpless enough in waking life with adults making all the decisions for them and stuff. So it's so empowering to be able to show a child, hey, you do have some power in your dreams, and you can create things, you can do magic. My daughter started doing magic in her dreams. She dreamed of witches, and she would create a baby witch for them all to go and play with, and fly us to the stars. They just do, they will really react if you kind of just give them options. Children just take it on board straight away. So they are actually in a very powerful position to work with nightmares because they don't have all the hang-ups that adults do.
Right. But I think that your technique would probably work just as well with adults as with children. I mean, it seems like it's because it's very easy to follow, which is a big part of it.
Exactly.
We're
it's
almost,
simple steps.
right. We're almost at the end of our
Yeah.
time. I just wanted to say, I know that you're in the process of writing a book about nightmares. Could you tell us a little bit about it and when it'll be out?
Yeah, sure. It's not going to be out for quite a while because I'm doing it via a US publisher. I've actually just finished a book, The Art of Lucid Dreaming, which is my next new book, and then the nightmare book's coming after that, but I'm going to start writing it now. And that's going to have sleep paralysis nightmares. It's going to have narcoleptic nightmares. So narcolepsy is when you involuntarily fall asleep several times a day. And it's going to have everything about the shadow as well, the shadow aspect of ourselves, aspects that we repress and that emerge in nightmares demanding to be heard. And it's going to have loads of practical techniques about how to work with all of these different sorts of nightmares.
How can people find out more about you?
Yeah, well, I have a website. It's www.deepluciddreaming.com. So, and on there you can contact me via my contact page if you have any questions, want any advice about nightmares or about lucid dreaming. And there's loads of information on my website, so you just have a look. And my books are on there as well. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Claire, for being on the Dream Power Show today. We've been speaking with Clare Johnson about nightmares on the Dream Power Show. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International.